This is an e-bike battery, and it weighs just under 28 pounds. That's equivalent to about 4 of the traditional e-bike batteries. It is 48 volts and 60 amp hours of capacity. That's 2.8 kilowatt hour. And it goes on this, the Oyster, yeah, there's actually a lot of letters involved, I gotta check, hold on. AQ177 Pro Max. And they say it has a range of up to 200 miles if you're pedaling, and up to 100 miles of range if you're only using the throttle. The craziest part, I think, is the fact that it is currently on sale right now for $14.99. And suddenly you probably have the same questions that I do. Is the battery really that big? Does the battery really have that much capacity? Will the bike actually go that far? Because for $1,500, this seems too good to be true. When Oyster reached out to me asking if I'd review the bike, of course my answer is yes.
I want that.
Naturally, they had a lot of interest in people wanting to test the bike, so I had to convince them. I pitched multiple ideas on crazy long-range tests we could do. There's only one problem. As some of you know, I'm having some health problems right now, and I can't actually ride the bike 100 miles or 200 miles while pedaling. That's just physically not possible. So where was I gonna find someone crazy enough to try this out for me?
My name is Blake. I was asked if we could do like a test on this bike that has this battery. So I said, lots of miles, somewhere kind of neat. Might as well ride it around Lake Tahoe.
So Blake has done the ride, or at least attempted it. I actually don't know what happened. I don't know if he made it all the way, if he made it part way. Did the bike last the distance? Could it withstand the heat of riding for that long?
Support crew. Nope, just me. My support crew was possibly Uber if I had to. Did I have to? Maybe, maybe not. My confidence in this whole venture was pretty small, actually pretty small. Weather's perfect, it's like 80 degrees, super sunny as you can see. I mean, I saw the battery and it's huge, and my expectations were pretty low on the bike just because of the retail price is, fairly low, and I know it was under 2,000, My start and stop point was Tahoe City, California, and then make my way to the South Shore via the west side, and then go all the way around. So basically counterclockwise. So I'm like pretty close to South Lake Tahoe. I'm reading 22.9 miles right now, and I'm in pedal assist 3. Here we go.
Now I think I should point out the fact that the day of the ride, Blake is already on his way to Lake Tahoe. I get this text message. Okay, so there's 3,500 feet of elevation on the trip. I might have to do just Tahoe City to South Lake and back.
The whole thing is about 80 miles. There's about 3,500 vertical feet you have to climb and descend. So that was, going into it, my expectations lowered once I found out the elevations I had to deal with.
Blake was genuinely concerned if he was going to be able to make it all the way around.
Because it's all hills, you think going around the lake, you're just around the lake shore, and it's all one level, but not in Tahoe.
So I did some quick number crunching. So the math comes out that if he averages 20 miles per hour, the legal limit for a Class 2 bike with a throttle, and he also averages 750 watts of power, he would use close to 2.8 kilowatt hours of battery, which is exactly what it has.
I'm just trying to keep it on the white line right here and be safe, go safe about it. Amazing country though. Strategy was just basically I didn't really have a strategy. I'm gonna pop it up to 4. hit this downhill. 20, 25 miles an hour, somewhere in between there, and a constant pace. Not on and off the throttle, maybe kind of just trying to be smooth, using downhills and you know, gravity to my advantage as much as possible. Emerald Bay. You can swim, you can get on that, you can get on the island and swim around. There's some rocks to jump off of. So it was all throttle. I didn't pedal. Right out of the box, first 25 miles, I had a little tire issue, and I couldn't really fix it. The tire was not super round, so it had kind of a lope to it. It's got a weird bubble in it on a spot, and it's just kind of driving me nuts, but it is what it is. I didn't want to, so I got this bike out of the box. I didn't want to do like tons of time dialing the bike in, and I knew I had to go a long ways, but I wanted to be more realistic because we're doing a review on this bike, and I didn't want it to be more than kind of like a normal person would set the bike up out of the box. There's a neat spot right here. We got drops on both sides. Everything else kind of fell into place. After the first 25 miles, I got pretty comfortable and was like, all right, let's sit in and try to get this thing done. South Lake Tahoe is right over there. I can see the buildings and whatnot. So I'm not very far. I got to just kind of go this way and around, obviously, and then, it's a long ways. I didn't have any trouble braking, but I could tell if I owned the bike in the long run and I was doing a lot of hills. This bike is heavy, it's battery, you know, battery and motor and all that. It's a tank. Not to say it's bad, but it's just the general nature of the game right now. The weight to ratio on batteries is kind of, it's the next level to fix on e-bikes, I believe. We sell upgrade kits, and this thing would be great for an upgrade, like $200. Gets you brand new, like, and maybe a little bit bigger rotors. I think I got up to like 40, right under 40 miles an hour, and that was enough for me. Haven't even broken the first bar on the battery yet, and I made it to South Lake, 30-something miles. I had all bars, all 5 bars at halfway, but you know, things happen. All right, update. We are now in Kings Beach. Yeah, so now we just pretty much go to Tahoe City. That's the next stop from here. I think I'm gonna, I don't know. I still got a bunch of hills to make. And I was about 2 bars down at that point and still had, you know, some hills to go. I was three bars down, 3 out of 5, yeah, so. Oh, it's getting pretty low. 16 miles an hour, uphill, no pedaling, not one pedal. There's some long, long hills, and I'm not pedaling at all. I'm just throttle, and so in the whole thing, we made it. This bike, full throttle only, no pedaling, all the way around the lake. Just now, yeah. And it was 85 miles, I believe. It was like 84 something, and we made it. And there was actually, once the bike sat, it had 2 full bars. I was pretty impressed with all the hills, 3,500 vertical feet I climbed, you know. It did it. Felt pretty good.
I thought for sure you didn't make it.
I thought, I'll be honest, I didn't know. I'm thinking I'm just do South Lake and back. And Kyle's like, well, I did some little bit of calculations here and there. It's always Kyle's like, he's by the numbers, you know, the guy's number guy. So, and Kyle was pretty confident that, you know, this thing will make it around the lake. If you know, keep in the certain parameters like 20, 25 miles an hour and, you know, just kind of use your gravity to your game and all that stuff. He's like, you should have some battery left. And he was completely right.
Only if it actually had the battery capacity they advertised. Otherwise, it never would have made it.
Right, yeah. You never know with these companies. We still haven't done a capacity check yet, but we're gonna probably do that. What do you think?
Yeah.
Before we put the video out?
Do it before we put the video out.
Yeah,
So.
yeah. See how much battery you actually used, because I haven't charged it. I left it. I put it right on my truck and left.
And test the battery I did. So it's good timing that I built this battery tester for a recent video, because there were 2 tests I wanted to run, and honestly I was shocked. I didn't think this would have been the result, but there was 750 watt hours of battery capacity left. To put that into perspective, that means there was about a 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery still left in this. Now, the second thing to do on this battery was a full charge test. So because I continued to drain the battery down until it hit the cutoff of the BMS, now I could do a full charge and measure how many watt hours are put back into the battery, and then we can see how close is this to actually 48 volts and 60 amp hours. And I was also pretty pleased with that result. I was able to put back in 57.5 amp hours out of the advertised 60. Now, if you're thinking that's a little bit short, I'm not really too surprised. A lot of lithium batteries have a rated capacity that doesn't quite match the actual usable capacity. It still means this thing is absolutely massive. And if we backtrack to Blake's ride around the lake of 85 miles, if he had kept going and continued to go around the lake until the battery died, that means that he still had more than 25% of the battery capacity left. So when they say this bike will do 100 miles on throttle only, not only was that accurate, it was accurate in steep terrain, because the bike could have gone at that rate about 105 miles or so.
Do you want me to go over like the little things that may be on the bike that are like so-so?
Yeah.
Okay, about the bike, I got some, like I rode at 85 miles, so I have some info on this thing. Oh, so you want to like zoom in a little bit? Yeah. Riding this thing for 85 miles, I got to know it pretty well, right? So I had a milk crate back here with some camera gear and, you know, fluids and whatnot. So I had that on here. That worked pretty decent. The screen's a little dark.
One of the downfalls is the screen on this. You can't really see it in light.
I can't see it at all when it's a sunny situation out. The suspension, the rear was great. It would soak up the little kind of rough hits, and there's a lot of that in Lake Tahoe. The front bottomed out a couple times. Probably could stand a little bit of better fork on it. There's one thing I do like about it, the throttle.
I got this, I found out that it has like cruise control. After a while with full throttle, if you let off, it keeps going. So that's kind of nice. Let your hand rest a little bit.
So that's a neat mode for it, and I really like that on this long trip. Everything else is cool. I didn't really have any issues with anything else. All the controls and everything were fine. Brakes, so-so. Suspension, fork, so-so. Rear brake, rear suspension. You have 2 coilovers on the rear, which is pretty nice. Oh yeah, yeah, and I did use the horn a couple times. The headlight works. It's pretty big. I don't know, that thing's massive. It has a tail light, brake light, also has nice little turn signals. The tires, like being a wide tire, there is so many potholes and like cracks, and then I was on the edge of the road the whole time on, you know, basically on the white line, and I get off like every once in a while. I'd have to like, you know, kind of transition from the road to the dirt here and there, and the transition on and off dirt made it a lot easier with the 4-inch wide.
Let me know what you guys think of this whole bike battery setup. Is this just overkill? Is this too much? Or is this what you'd like to see on more bikes? Leave a comment below. Also, I will put a link in the description where you can check out the Neal AQ177 Pro Max.